Chairman Adam Schiff, who I just saw last night in front of that same fireplace, just with that same look of calm on your face. I just have to ask, Chairman, as someone that's known you a long time, do you scream in private? Do you feel like screaming? Do you feel like I can't even imagine everything you know that we don't know on top of all of this.
I do feel like screaming. I don't scream into a pillow or whatnot, but I have to say I'm very tempted. I used to say to people jokingly that the way I remain calm is by taking a lot of horse tranquilizers, and then I found out that that's actually a thing. So I stopped saying that. But yeah, every day is completely maddening, uh,
Ah,
and and this is among the worst that we've heard about the president. That he knew just how serious this virus was. He lied about it to the public, and the result is literally tens of thousands of people died unnecessarily. When I think back to the argument we made to the Senate to remove this man from office, we talked about the damage that he could do in the months remaining in his term, but we had no idea that it would be this catastrophic. It just
you were prescient not just about horse tranquilizers, but also about everything you said on the floor of the Senate about Donald Trump will do what's right for Donald Trump. I mean, this is him clearly bragging to Bob Woodward about everything he knew. And but it wasn't to not cause panic, Chairman. It was to do for the same reason he does everything, to help himself, to not
well,
panic the stock market, to help his reelection. As Dr. Fauci's quoted as saying, this is all he cares about is his reelection. In
well,
the wood, yeah.
it's such a common theme that he never does, what's right for the country, only what's right for him. Uh, that's absolutely correct. And in terms of him not wanting to cause panic, he's happy to cause panic right now. He's stoking violence in the cities in order to help him politically, as Kellyanne Conway admitted and saying the secret thing out loud. He was happy to stoke panic 2 years ago in the midterms by saying that there were all these terrorists who were flocking to our border in caravans.
Yeah.
And we now know from a whistleblower that that was, of course, a perversion of the intelligence. In fact, the intelligence said exactly the opposite. But he's more than willing to panic people when he thinks it's to his
Oh,
advantage.
speaking of
I
panic,
think,
yeah, I'm sorry,
yeah.
Chairman. Go ahead.
Well, no, I was just going to say it's clear that he felt from the beginning of the pandemic that he was better off if somehow he could talk this down, if he could get people to ignore the seriousness, that somehow perversely that would help his reelection. Now, that was a terrible miscalculation politically, but it was a deadly miscalculation for the country.
Well, let's talk about your area of expertise, which is chairman of the House Intelligence Committee, because you just brought up intelligence. First of all, on the pandemic, serious people that are not given to hyperbole like Lawrence Tribe and others. I mean, words like mass genocide and The Hague, and Neil Katyal said this resignation is not enough for this point we're at. I mean, I know you did your best on impeachment, and here we are with people thinking, well, we're just going to have to impeach him at the ballot box. Chairman, I know you already know this, but buried in all this, obviously the lead about coronavirus in the Woodward book, Woodward reports new details on Russia's election meddling, writing that the NSA and the CIA have classified evidence the Russian had placed malware in the election registration systems of at least two Florida counties. Um, it was sophisticated and could erase voters in specific districts. The voting system vendor used by Florida was also used in states across the country. So here we sit this morning with the twin story about the next whistleblower, right? And it's squelching Russia intelligence about Russia's going to do. Chairman, I know it's your job to stay calm, but are we going to be able to stop what Russia is doing in this election? Are we going to have a free and fair election?
Well, we're doing everything possible to make that so, to make sure that we expose what the Russians are doing, that we disrupt, and if we can deter them. The most important thing is deterrence, frankly, but the president is doing nothing but encouraging, I think, foreign help. And, this is a pattern. In 2016, he invited the Russians to hack his opponent's emails. In 2019, he tried to coerce Ukraine to helping him. And he even apparently begged President Xi of China to help him. So he's not going to deter them. Frankly, what Joe Biden has done is the only deterrent we have, because Joe Biden, through his statements, has made it clear to the Russians that if they do again, as they have already started, try to interfere in our election, they will pay a price from a Biden administration. But the Russians know there's no price to be paid with Donald Trump, and if anything, he'll be grateful for their help. So we're exposing what Russia is doing. We're letting the public know that the Russians are amplifying the president's false messages about absentee ballots. The Russians are amplifying the president's false attacks on Joe Biden's health. And the Russians are doing what they can once again to help elect their man in Washington, Donald Trump. And armed with that information, we have to hope and pray that Americans make the right decision.
But what about our voting systems? I mean, that's what I'm saying. It's I know that people like you are doing everything you can, but it's just this story. Top officials with in case people haven't heard it, with the Department of Homeland Security directed agency analysts to downplay the threat of violent white supremacy and Russian election interference. According to a new whistleblower complaint, Brian Murphy, as you know all this, was directed by Chad Wolf to stop producing assessments on Russian interference. The department's second highest ranked official, Ken Cuccinelli, also ordered him to modify intelligence assessments to make the threat of white supremacy appear less severe and include information on violent, quote unquote, left wing groups. The department has stalled in releasing implementation plan on combating white supremacy and other forms of domestic terrorism. But again, we have an election coming up in how many days? And they are clearly not securing it, right? They're not securing our voting systems. What do we do about that?
Well, a lot of the states are doing their best to secure their voting systems, and there are other places, frankly, that aren't doing what they should be. Some of those are in critical jurisdictions. It is absolutely negligent for any Secretary of State's office, any voting jurisdiction, not to have a paper trail, and yet there's still some jurisdictions that don't. In Congress, we've appropriated the money and passed it in the House as part of the HEROES Act to make sure that these states and local election places have the resources they need to handle the volume of absentee ballots. But of course, Mitch McConnell is sitting on that legislation. So, I wish I could give you a more encouraging answer that the government is doing what it should. In fact, the president is stopping the government from doing what it should. But there are lots of good people at the state level who are working hard on this. There are lots of people within the federal civil service at different agencies that are doing what they can. There are lots of good people within the intelligence agencies that are doing what they can to deter, disrupt, expose this kind of malign activity. So we are working hard on it, but we are more exposed than we should be.
Well, as you said on Twitter, democracy belongs to the people, and so does intelligence about foreign election interference. Americans have a right to know how foreign actors are attempting to interfere in our elections. They've obviously stopped giving briefings to the House on. I can't imagine being you. How you don't just feel completely overwhelmed every second of every day.
Well, you know how I get through it, frankly, is I get up in the morning, I say, look, I'm going to do everything I can during the day to do my part in holding our democracy together. And then at the end of the night, I'm like, okay, I'm done for the day. I'm going to wake up and repeat until this nightmare is over. Yeah. And the good news is that it's within our power to throw this bum out of the Oval Office. If we turn out all of our folks, he's gone. Yeah. And not only is he gone, also all those enablers of his in the Senate are gone. We are doing very well in these Senate contests. And those folks that, said, oh, I'm sure Donald Trump will learn from the impeachment. We don't need to remove him from office. All of those enablers in the Senate are in very difficult races right now.
Well, but Chairman, I think the other thing is, as you know, it's not just Russian interference. They are in the midst of, as you know, trying to destroy the post office, trying to dissuade people. I mean, the fact that they're suing to not have drop boxes tells you everything you need to know. They just don't want people to vote. That has nothing to do with voting by mail. A drop box has nothing to do with the post office. They're trying to get rid of drop. They're just trying to stop people from voting, right?
That there's no doubt about it. And it's part of a long pattern. The Republicans know that they can't win if more Americans vote. And this has been true now for many, many years. So they've taken down polling stations in highly populated urban areas. They've purged voter rolls. They've done everything they can to make it difficult for people to vote. But we can still overwhelm them with numbers. And that's really what we have to do.
Chairman, what's your advice for my listeners in terms of voting? Just, I mean,
You know,
I assume vote early, but
yes. I mean, it's really quite simple. If you're not yet registered to vote, register today. Get it done today. Don't put it off any further. And if you're going to vote by mail, and Californians are largely voting by mail, mail in that ballot as soon as you get it. Don't wait. And if it gets beyond a certain point and you don't know whether it will arrive in time, then hand deliver it to your polling place. Don't take any chances with that vote. Donald Trump doesn't want you to vote. That's the bottom line. And it's an act of civic responsibility to persevere and make sure your vote and your voice are counted.
um, I know this is literally yesterday's news, but yesterday I sat here trying to get my mind around that the American people are going to pay to defend the president against a rape charge that happened long before he was in office, and that Bill Barr is arguing legally that that's part of the president's job, is defaming the woman that accused him of rape. I mean, I'm trying to sort of go back and think if Janet Reno had said, I'm just going to defend Bill Clinton in this civil. I mean, I don't. This has no basis in law, does it? Whatever law he's citing, what the Westfall Act. I mean, what?
Any self-respecting president, well, wouldn't be in that circumstance to begin with, but would never have the Justice Department defend them in a lawsuit like this. And no self-respecting attorney general would ever agree to do it. But of course, we don't have a self-respecting attorney general. We have Bill Barr, who will do anything the president wants. It's just scandalous, and it goes from bad to worse with this attorney general. Last week, he was lying about what the intelligence has to say in terms of the Russian threat vis-a-vis, other threats from other countries. He has used the Justice Department to protect those who lie for the president, like Roger Stone and Michael Flynn. And he's using the Justice Department now to go after the president's enemies with this Durham investigation, which he says he wants to release before the election. And that doesn't violate department policy, he claims, because it's not inherently political. That is such baloney. Yeah. The only purpose of it is political and to punish those who stand up to the president. So, it is shocking, but it's at that same quality that we've seen throughout this administration. Shocking on the one hand, not at all surprising on the other.
I mean, right before he's supposed to give his DNA. I mean, it's just like you don't even have to be a lawyer to go, oh, Bill Barr believes that Donald Trump raped this woman. Or I mean, it just, I can't get my mind around. And then you listen to the Woodward tapes and you think, oh, it's not incompetence. It's deliberate evil. I mean, it's he knew everything. I mean, this headline, Deutsche Bank hires Bill Barr's good friend to make Deutsche Bank's problems go away, who Donald Trump owes millions of dollars to, right? I mean, the corruption is literally endless, isn't it?
It is, and it all comes down to the same thing. And this was a comment that Woodward attributes to Mattis. The man has no moral compass. And if you have no moral compass, you're capable of doing anything, no matter how deadly it is to your fellow citizens, no matter how criminal or craven it is. And you surround yourself with people who are likewise without moral compass. And that's why we find, person after person in Trump's orbit indicted, going to jail. Steve Bannon plucked off this Chinese yacht, and arrested for bilking people who were sending money to build the wall. I mean, you can't make this stuff up, but it is what comes when you surround yourself with fellow criminals.
Well, Chairman, before you go, I have to say, you are, whatever is the opposite of Donald Trump is what you are. Speaking of just, moral integrity. And so I understand, as a member of Congress, you obviously can't talk about classified information, but I just feel like we are so beyond a break glass moment in this country. I just, your take on, I don't know whether it's Bob Woodward or Peter Strzok. I'm personally a little tired of people waiting for books to tell us things that are of such dire national importance, national security importance. I mean, if ever there was a time, right, for generals, Peter Strzok, whoever it is, to really tell us the enormity of what we're up against, it's now, isn't it?
I completely agree. And, John Bolton is sort of exhibit A of withholding information that's important, to put it in a book. People need to speak out now. There are lots of people who've worked with Donald Trump who understand just the kind of depravity that goes on in the White House. They need to speak out And
And
I know
I
many of
love
them
the
are
fact that
reluctant.
you always get accused of being the leaker of Shifty Schiff and all that, and you are the last person that would leak anything, in terms of just your. I know you for how many years, and just your character and your moral integrity, and the fact that it just the people that have been wrongly accused, including you, right? And meanwhile, you are more of a patriot than, than we can probably get our minds around, based on what you know and the fact that you won't divulge it, right?
Well, no, I won't. Not because it's the wrong thing to do, and we can beat this guy the right way, and we have to beat this guy the right way. We don't want to become them in the process. But that doesn't mean we don't fight hard. We fight tooth and nail.
Yeah.
We fight every day and every hour until these twin plagues of Donald Trump and coronavirus are over.
Yep. And then we
This
can see each other in person, and you can do that thing with your eye when I try to get classified information out of you, and but then we'll all know it by then, so there'll be no more secrets.
I did have a friend who would say, blink if the president is going to be indicted, and he would stare at me until I couldn't help but blink.
Yes, exactly. You gotta. I want to be your poker partner. Chairman, thanks as always for your time. I know it's a really, really critical time. Thanks so much.
Thank you. You
All right.
take care.
All right.